I thought my neighbor was just into gardening, until I found a TikTok with 78K views titled, "Watch this lazy mom let her lawn turn into a jungle." It was my house. My kids' bikes were in the shot. The comments were brutal. "Call CPS, disgusting, poor kids." I knocked on her door. She said, "If you don't want attention, keep your mess behind a gate." That night, I found she'd posted 15 videos of us over the past year, including one where my daughter was crying. She moved into the house next to mine about 2 years ago. Fancy house, perfect lawn, and the kind of woman who always looked like she just stepped out of a catalog. High-end yoga pants, perfect ponytail, even while she watered her roses. She'd wave sometimes, usually when other neighbors were around. But there was always this look in her eyes like she was measuring me and finding me lacking. Still, I didn't think much of it. I kept to myself. She kept to hers. Until last week. It was a Wednesday morning. I got up early to squeeze in a few quiet minutes before waking the kids. Sat down with my coffee, opened my phone, and saw a message from Becca, one of the servers at the diner I work at. All it said was, "Is this you?" She'd sent a TikTok. I clicked it, and there it was. My front yard. The grass overgrown, the hedges untrimmed, a couple of my kids' toys scattered around. I recognized Rachel's pink bike and Benny's plastic lawnmower. My heart dropped. Then the voice came in. "Here we have the jungle house," a woman said in a fake cheerful tone. "Get a load of this disaster. You'd think someone died inside and no one noticed." She laughed. The video was barely 15 seconds long, but my stomach turned the whole time. And the comments? God, the comments. "Call CPS. Those poor kids. White trash energy. This is why HOA rules should exist. I'd be embarrassed to even live next to this." Some had laughing emojis. Some tagged other users. The video had 78,000 views. 78,000. And she tagged it. #LazyMomHouse, #JungleYard, #DoBetter. I felt sick. Humiliated. Violated. I watched it again. I didn't want to, but I had to make sure. That was definitely my house. You could see the number on the mailbox. My daughter's sidewalk chalk drawings. A toy dinosaur half buried in the weeds. And in the background, you could hear Benny laughing. He was in the yard when she filmed this. My kid was in it. I knew instantly who did it. Terry. She's the only neighbor who ever cared about my yard. Always side-eyeing, always making these little comments like, "I guess some people like the natural look." And I'd seen her out there with her phone on a tripod more than once. I was furious. I walked straight to her house, didn't even put shoes on. Knocked on her door hard enough to rattle the glass. She opened up, smiling like she expected someone else. "Oh," she said, tilting her head like she was surprised. "Hi. You posted a video of my house," I said. "You need to take it down." She blinked. Then she laughed. Actually laughed. "If you don't want attention," she said, "keep your mess behind a gate." That's when I knew she wasn't just rude. She was malicious. I didn't say anything else. Just turned and walked back home. But inside I was shaking. Not just with anger. With shame. With rage. With helplessness. That kind of humiliation sits in your chest and burns. Later that night, after the kids went to bed, I couldn't stop thinking about it. I went on her TikTok. It was public. Her username was something smug, at Suburban Truth-Teller or some crap like that. She had dozens of videos. Of me. Of my house. Of my kids. One of me in a robe, dragging the trash out. One of Rachel sitting on the porch crying. Her face was in it. She was 8 years old, and Terry had posted her crying for views. There was even a slow-mo video of me chasing Benny around with a diaper. She added circus music to it and captioned it, "Real life at the jungle house." Some videos had over 100,000 views. She didn't blur anything. Not the address, not the kids' faces. And the people in the comments were disgusting. "Bet the kids eat ramen every night. She probably drinks at noon. Someone rescue those kids." I couldn't believe it. This woman had turned us into a freak show. And for what? Likes? Views? A dopamine hit? I wanted to scream. I wanted to cry. But most of all, I wanted her to hurt like I was hurting. I started taking screenshots. Every video. Every comment. Every face my kids were shown in. I saved it all. Then I started digging. Her TikTok. Her Instagram. Her Facebook. Her LinkedIn. She had them all, and she was careless. She was a social media marketing consultant. Claimed to help businesses grow their online reach. Had a blog. A few local sponsorships. A podcast that nobody really listened to. And one more thing I found? She worked part-time at a small private preschool down the road. One of those upscale ones where parents pay through the nose to make sure their kids are around the right kind of families. She posted about it often. Even tagged them. Big mistake. I wasn't sure exactly what I was going to do next, but I knew this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. I didn't sleep much that night. I just sat there in the dark, scrolling through her videos over and over. Watching strangers pick apart my parenting, my house, my children. I felt like I'd been stripped naked and paraded in front of a crowd. By morning, I had a plan. First, I called the preschool where Terry worked. I didn't give my name. I just asked to speak to the director. When she picked up, I told her to go on TikTok and search at Suburban Truth Teller. Told her to look at the videos from April 3rd and June 10th in particular. She was quiet for a long time after that. "Those are children in those videos," she finally said. "Mine," I said. "Without consent. She's mocking them for clicks." The director thanked me and said they'd look into it immediately. An hour later, Terry's account went private. I wasn't done. I took all the screenshots, every video where my kids' faces were shown, every comment that mentioned me by name, and sent them to a lawyer I knew through the diner. He wasn't a fancy guy, but he owed me a favor. He said what she did could count as harassment, maybe even defamation, since she was misrepresenting me to the public. But what hit harder was the fact she filmed children without permission and monetized those videos. He told me to file a police report, and to also talk to Child Protective Services. Not because I was in trouble, but because they needed to know that someone else was dragging my name through the mud and putting my kids at risk. I went down to the station and filed everything. The officer I spoke with didn't roll his eyes or treat me like I was overreacting. He saw the videos. He looked disgusted. "She posted your kid crying?" he said. "Jesus." Meanwhile, Terry must have known something was coming, because she started deleting videos. One by one. But she was too late. I had them all saved. The real kicker came when Becca, my coworker, told me she'd seen Terry's face pop up on a local mom Facebook group. Someone had posted a warning about a woman secretly filming families in the neighborhood. That post went viral locally. Within 48 hours, everyone knew what she'd been doing. Parents who had kids at her preschool started pulling them out. One mom blasted the school for hiring someone who had no respect for children's privacy. The preschool tried to do damage control, but the screenshots had already been shared too many times. Terry was fired before the week was over. And still, it wasn't enough. I needed her to feel what I felt. Shame. Fear. Disgust. So I made my own TikTok. I didn't show her house. I didn't say her name. But I told the story. From the beginning. I showed the screenshots. The comments. The video where Rachel was crying. I blurred her face out. I stayed respectful. But I let people know exactly what she had done. It blew up. Not just here in Tacoma. It reached people in Oregon, California, even Texas. Parents were furious. People started calling her the Jungle Witch. Others started digging into her past. She lost sponsorships. Her podcast's ratings tanked. She shut down all her accounts within a week. I thought maybe that would be the end of it. Then someone slipped a note under my door. It was just one sentence, written in big black Sharpie. "You think you've won, but I'm not done." I read the note 3 times before it really sank in. "You think you've won, but I'm not done." I looked out the window. Nothing. No cars pulling away. No one in sight. It was past midnight. I checked the cameras I'd installed a few days ago, one pointed at the front door, one at the driveway. They'd been running all week just in case. But the footage showed nothing. Like whoever dropped the note knew where the blind spots were. I didn't sleep at all that night. The next morning, things felt off. Rachel was quiet at breakfast. Benny spilled his cereal, and normally that would lead to a giggle fit, but not today. They felt the tension too. After I dropped them off at school, I drove around the block to clear my head. That's when I saw her, Terry, standing in her yard, smiling and chatting with 2 neighbors. Like nothing had happened. Like she hadn't just dragged my family through the mud in front of thousands of strangers. When she saw my car, she turned. Her smile got wider. She raised her hand. Waved. I kept driving. I thought maybe she was bluffing. Trying to scare me. But later that afternoon, Becca texted me a screenshot of a new TikTok account. Brand new handle. 0 posts. But the bio said, "Deleted but not defeated. Let's talk truth, Tacoma." A day later, it posted its first video. It wasn't of me this time. It was of another neighbor, Mrs. Delgado, an older widow who lived 2 houses down from me. It showed her struggling to carry groceries up her porch steps. The video zoomed in on her hands shaking. The caption? Maybe donate less to cats and more to strength training, Grandma. The comments weren't as brutal this time, yet, but the tone was the same. Cold. Smug. Mean. And this time, she didn't use her voice or her name. She was learning. I went over to Mrs. Delgado's place that night and showed her the video. She cried. Said she didn't even know what TikTok was. That's when it hit me, this wasn't about me anymore. Terry was going to do this to everyone. And she was getting smarter. Hiding better. Testing boundaries. The police couldn't do much, not without clear evidence it was her running the new account. So I went deeper. I started checking the posting times, the hashtags, even the filters she used. Same style, same cadence. And she always filmed from angles that matched her height. Always from a sidewalk or a yard. Never from a car. She wanted to look innocent. I needed a way to catch her in the act. So I baited her. I staged my yard. I put up a few decorations, gaudy stuff, plastic flamingos, an inflatable alien. I even painted a sign that said, "Welcome to the jungle," and stuck it right in the lawn. I wanted her to take the bait. I wanted her to come film. Then I waited. And that night, at exactly 2:13 a.m., my camera caught her. Terry. Creeping up to my yard, wearing a hoodie, phone out, filming in slow motion. She didn't see the third camera I'd hidden under the gutter. It caught her full face. Clear as day. She walked right up to the lawn sign and whispered into her phone. "You really couldn't help yourself, could you?" Then she turned and walked away. That was the final nail. I sent the footage to the police. I sent it to the preschool. I sent it to every local group that had been following the story. And I sent it to her husband. But something told me Terry wouldn't go down without a fight. I didn't want to drag her husband into it. But something about the way she said, "You really couldn't help yourself," made me realize she thought this was personal. Like I was a rival. Like exposing her made me an enemy to destroy. So yeah, I sent the footage to her husband. I wasn't sure what I expected. Maybe he'd defend her. Maybe he'd ignore it. He didn't. 2 days later, a moving truck showed up in front of their house. Not a rental, a professional company. Terry wasn't outside. Her husband was. He had the hollow, tired look of a man who just found out his whole life had been built on top of a sewer pipe. That night, Rachel and I were sitting on the porch when a car pulled into our driveway. I tensed. But it wasn't Terry. It was him, her husband, Mark. He stepped out, hands up, no threats. "I just wanted to say," he began. "I'm sorry." He looked over at Rachel and paused. "She's not, well," he added. "What she did to you, to your kids, she's done it before. Back in Spokane. And Boise before that. I thought it was over." Then he handed me an envelope. "You should have this. It's everything she made off those videos." I checked the bank records. It was a check. For figures. I didn't want it. But I took it. I used it to finally put a fence up around the yard. Bought Rachel a new bike. Paid off my overdue bills. Terry? She didn't say goodbye. She didn't show her face again. But that wasn't the end. A few weeks later, a new TikTok popped up. Different name. Different city tagged. But the style was the same. The voice? Hers. No doubt. This time, she was mocking a young mom outside a gas station in Boise. Same smirk. Same cruel tone. I messaged the woman in the video. Gave her all the proof. The TikToks, the comments, the footage of Terry filming at night. She shared it. Just like I had. And it spread again. Terry was back, but this time, people were ready. Local groups warned others. Old fans turned on her. Her new job fired her after someone sent them the story. Every time she tried to start over, someone would recognize her voice. Her tone. Her pattern. She couldn't run from her own words. But as for me? I learned something too. I had ignored my yard. I let it go because I was too tired, too overwhelmed. I didn't think it mattered. But in a world where strangers can turn your life into content, even something as small as uncut grass becomes ammo. I didn't deserve what she did. No one does. But I should have seen the signs sooner. Now I don't wait for someone to cross the line. I draw it myself. Bright red. Clear. My kids? They're doing great. Rachel started therapy after everything went down, and she's smiling more now. Benny still runs around in circles yelling nonsense, but that's who he is. Me? I've got cameras on every corner of the house. A gate. And I don't apologize anymore for being a tired mom trying to survive. And Terry? Every time she tries to start over, I'll be there. Watching. Because now she's the one looking over her shoulder. And that's the kind of ending she earned.